1, 2, 3, 4. this is Yesterdays by Jerome Kern. less than 3 years ago, and I just got this one like 3 months ago, so I'm still a little like scared of it, but I'm making friends with it. This is 8 misbehavior. 1, 2, 3, 4. Summer Samba, also called So Nice. probably recognize it.
King Oliver, he wrote this for Louis Armstrong, and we're going to play it for you. This is Dippermouth Blues. Maybe I should just say big hand for Bill Winslow on piano. We've been playing together for over a decade, and really a treat to be able to play with you tonight. It's a dipper mouth blues.
So welcome, my name is Kelly Silliman. I am the program director for the Northampton Center for the Arts. And this building is actually owned and maintained by the Northampton Community Arts Trust. And this is an organization that was founded on a conservation land trust model. So the building is owned in perpetuity for the arts in Northampton, the building and the land that we're on. And the trust did something really cool. They decided that they were not going to take on any commercial debt, so no bank loans. And so they are fundraising for every part of the building that gets finished. So it's been finished in phases. There are 3 organizations that program in the building: the Northampton Center for the Arts, APE Gallery, which has the big gallery on Main Street and also stewards a larger flexible space on the other side of this wall behind me, and Northampton Open Media, who we're so grateful to for helping us with the recording tonight. Thank you so much. Now the Zoomers can hear me. And so those are the three organizations that program in the building. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I love talking about this project because I think it's really amazing. There are bathrooms, as you probably know, on this level directly across the way, and exits are front door and emergency exit out this way. Please, if you haven't already, turn your cell phones off. It's been a while since we've all been in spaces together, but you still have to turn off your cell phones when there's a performance going on. And I'm so excited to be here tonight. I was really excited about this book launch and working with Michael. I've known Michael for a number of years now, and primarily through the poetry critique meetups that he facilitates through the center, which have moved to Zoom in the last year and a half. Michael is a resident of Florence and the author of 3 books of poetry, and a translator of 17 books of Danish literature, including Tove Ditlevsen's Dependency from the Copenhagen Trilogy. Fans of that work can look forward to Michael's translations of Ditlevsen's short stories, which will be out from Penguin and FSG this coming winter. Michael is also an active part of the Valley writing community. He volunteers with the Straw Dog Writers Guild Program Committee, which sponsors monthly writing workshops, and he's been facilitating the bi-monthly poetry critique meetups that I mentioned, which are sponsored by the Center for the Arts and Straw Dog. This is Michael's first poetry reading at the center. We're very excited. He will be reading from his 2 collections published this year, Slow Phoenix and Small Sovereign, as well as some recent poems. Please welcome Michael Favala Goldman.
Thank you for that noise. That's great. Thanks to Kelly. And this is part 2 of the evening. I wanted to start reading as a tribute to my bandmates. It was so much fun to play for you tonight. I want to read a couple of poems that are music themed. The first one is in Slow Phoenix. It is the title is the name of a jazz tune that we often play. It's written by composer and saxophonist Wayne Shorter, and we've performed this many times, including in East Hampton. This is One by One at 121 Club Eastworks. It was Wayne Shorter's birthday, which was so great since we were going to perform one of his compositions at the jazz club. It made it all kind of fortuitous to tell the audience we were playing for him. The groovy intro, the quiet melody, and then the shouting notes that maybe he could sense somehow. And our improvisations on his tune, each of us having 1 minute for his life to step specter-like into ours, and us shouting from his mountaintop that this is what it feels like to have been Wayne Shorter as a young man. And even though he's 83, he still feels it, and his music still plays it that way, and there's no regret or sadness when it's played like that. Just the sounds flooding the walls and reflecting off the bright, upturned faces. And after the applause, I thank the audience, defer again to Shorter's birthday, and it doesn't matter that I say Frank Shorter by accident that time, because when I was young, my family was really into long-distance running. And our saxophonist corrects me, and we're on to the next tune. And this is a poem I've just worked on recently. Music. Time is silent. Space is also silent. Who are we to enter? What silence do we have to add? What sound do we have to add that's worthy of silence? So it is fall, and it's fall gardening season. So in my garden, mostly all that's left is leeks and kale. But last week, I planted my garlic, which have a lineage not unlike other creatures in that they leave behind something to create the next generation. This is planting garlic with my dad. There have been a couple of light frosts, but nothing to worry about when you join me willingly through the creaking gate to help plant my cache of cloves before the year gets too late. The cover crops are up beyond mere stubble on the patches where produce once was harvested in full baskets before breakfast. Now you are 69, in clean pants, having never done this before, sharing the shovel I show you how deep, how close we have to dig. You bend to the hole, momentously asking of the pointed white wedge, which side goes down? Despite my kitchen's misgivings, I always set aside my most select, stoutest cloves for annual planting, believing that from them their future generations will punctually form, become ever more muscular and pungent, and finally be lifted in their fragile parchments when I have waded the winter through. Together now, we seal the roots into their accustomed darkness. Thank you. So it never fails that my wife makes fun of me when I start my seedlings, because it is February, and it usually looks like winter is never going to end. And then there is also this similarity between trying to get fruit from one's writing and gardening. This is late winter potting. It is 0 degrees out, and I am filling my seed trays. I have sent off the queries and manuscripts to places even colder. There's 20 inches of rimy snow outside, hard enough to dent one's ideals. Hard enough to dent one's ideals. Inside, I handle dry soil, individual seeds that have lain patiently in their paper waiting. They think spring is coming. It is all they think of. I level the soil knowing that without me, there is no hope for them. Even with me, their future looks precarious. So, just another example of how you can't just go by how things look out there. Reminder. Just being cheerful is hard enough. Just being cheerful. I have to remind myself about the light of the world. I have to remind myself to live each day with no regrets. To live each day. Just to show it's possible. Fill out my skin. Just to show it's possible. Regardless of success. Dedicate my life. Regardless of success. So I want to read the title poem from Slow Phoenix, which was actually inspired by the sculpture Phoenix on the cover, which is by a local artist, Laura Reinhardt, is actually here tonight. As you probably know, the phoenix, besides being a sculpture, is a bird from mythology that when it reached a certain age, it would catch fire and burn and then rise again from its own ashes. And so, slow phoenix. Sometimes I feel resentful about having my problems. But as the days pass and I don't burst into flames, I'm thinking I have just enough problems to keep me moving. So I'm going to put down Slow Phoenix and pick up Small Sovereign. Many of the poems in Small Sovereign are inspired by this theme or this dilemma or paradox that we have sovereign power over most of our, at least many of our daily decisions, and yet at the same time we can feel too small to affect anything that has real meaning. And the title comes from this poem, Avocados. Avocados. I was walking with my groceries, an ordinary person doing the most extraordinary thing. A bag with items from Mexico, Canada, California, Spain, and Florida. Because how else could I eat in this white winter? With anonymous saviors, I am bartering my life for food. My legs are swinging as if it were nothing peculiar, just moving along the sidewalk. I can't distinguish between my rights, my freedom, and my privilege. Such a small sovereign. I'm looking forward to my solitary meal. Everyone is invited. You are too, but it's a secret. This poem speaks to another kind of unity. Coincidentally, the title is also a line from Love and Marriage, a song Frank Sinatra made popular. This is, you can't have one without the other. Everything comes with something else attached to it. The shirt has a tag, and the tag represents the workers, the chemicals, the board members, the vehicles, the acres of land you wear when you slip it on. And don't even get me started about having a relationship with another person, which has even more wavelengths than light, and each bar in the spectrum attachments to tribe, history, memory, body, always at least one wavelength like a sad farce. You're really going to have to open wide to take all that in. And do you want to? Just relating to yourself is a task for the ages. That thing they say about being one with everything is already true. But who can bear it like a flower into the daylight? Thank you. This next poem has a little science in it. It's called Unified Light Theory. I just made that up. It's not a real theory yet. Unified Light Theory. I love how physics thinks. It's trying to explain the everyday, yet keeps landing on the unseen. Like when we're driving the interstate, going to or returning from some family affair, and though I may be silent for long stretches, you know I'm listening intently. Because you are more than the most necessary person I know. We operate inside the same equation, on each other, but also on other variables, in exponential waves and particles at the same time. I cannot be explained independent of you, not without complete reorganization of the entire universe. Thank you. This next poem is one response to the ongoing crises in the nation and the world. Out of proportion. Eliminations all around us. Schisms, skirmishes. Don't expect me to stand in the way. I'm small everywhere, except in my little life, where I am a clumsy giant, trying desperately not to destroy my own city. Thank you. So we have a sphere of influence, all of us, and sometimes even just that is not going all that well, or not as well as we hoped, which I hope keeps us trying and growing. This is growth mindset. Growth mindset. There is no perfect end. There is only sitting in the same place day after day, wondering. Which is the reason for nature, animals, and plants, and the highly specialized algae, and the bacteria living inside me, without which I'd be in a bad way. It's not evil. Misery is the flip side of mercy. Toss a coin. Falling short is also a kind of victory. What else is there? You can't surpass yourself, but you can practice peeking past the edge of suffering. Fill out your skin a bit more with each failed attempt. In the gratitude of losing, we rise to the surface of our own emptiness. a simultaneous forgetting and finding ourselves standing upright without apology. Thank you very much. So I'm going to put down those books and just give you a little background about how tonight kind of came to be. First, it was Kelly's idea when she heard what I was doing. And what happened, as a writer, I send out manuscripts. And I keep my expectations really low, because mostly I get rejections. But in January this year, I got a response from a publisher who wanted my book, and that became Small Sovereign, which I just got on Wednesday, just in time for today. Then, in the beginning of the summer, I was contacted out of the blue by this other publisher saying they had seen some of my work online, and did I have a manuscript that they could consider publishing, which I did, and that became Slow Phoenix. So I had 2 books in 1 year, which is like crazy. Meanwhile, back in March, I had a translation published, the Copenhagen Trilogy, and it ended up as the front page of the New York Times book review. Which was also a lot to take in. And this week, I learned that a story that I translated is going to be, in 9 days, it's going to be in the New Yorker magazine. So this is kind of a lot for a retired carpenter from Florence to kind of absorb, but this is how my year has gone so far. And I'm just so grateful that you could be here to share in this celebration with me tonight. I started taking a class on online symposium on public speaking, and they told me to form kind of a synthesis of why I do what I do. And I do a lot of things, so it's kind of hard, but this is what I ended up with, which is that I believe really good writing, I've experienced that really good writing can soften the shells around our hearts so that I feel more compassion for the world and for the people near me and for myself. And I hope that by sharing through my translations and my poetry that some of that rubs off. So thank you for sharing that with me. I want to read some newer poems. So these are a bunch of relationship poems coming up. They're not in any books yet, but Robert Frost used to say, when somebody asked him, what's your favorite poem, he would say, the one I just wrote, or the one that just got a good review. Advanced mathematics do not count on things adding up. Even 1 + 1 can be humiliating. This is a snapshot of how it has looked occasionally outside my window, and maybe sometimes inside my window too. The nature of things. He stretches his long blue neck, then pulls it back as regally as possible with the red snood hanging down. She is standing 6 feet away. He raises his fan of brown tail feathers, revealing white shafts and speckled pillow of finer feathers below, and patterned down below that. And she is not even looking. As he turns 360 degrees, the sun catching bronze between his wings, as hesitantly he lowers his treasures and steps in sync with his mate, still distant, over to the leaf pile where they scratch, each to their own, peck at what might be there. He raises his tail again, this time only halfway. That was, of course, our friends, the wild turkey. This is another local bird poem. Woodpecker. Kip-pock, pock, 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 pock. Kippy-pock, pock, 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 pock. It is barely light out, and someone is breakfasting on tree insects. Now I am awake, the memory of last night as if it just happened. When you said you wished I could touch you intensely and precisely. You who wake up if I just turn over are sleeping through the woodpecker, while an echo of blame punctuates my nerves for repeated failure to make contact. Thank you. A brief return to a music theme, and let you know I also play piano besides clarinet. This is what to do when your wife loves you enough to give up her childhood piano, which the piano tuner has condemned, which only you play every day. And she lets you pick out the upright grand of your choice from the 20 or so in the dealer's church basement showroom, and you have the black Yamaha delivered. Then salvage as much of the bookended and polished mahogany from the old piano as possible. Store it in your workshop. Then cut squares and rectangles from the hinged top, the music stand, and the front panels according to a rough 1/10 scale drawing, so it resembles the old piano, with the metal Jansson emblem on the front and blackened mahogany slivers for the sharps and flats. Add 2 rectangles of white plastic inscribed in black marker with favorite songs for sheet music, glued to the tiny stand. Shine it all with furniture polish. Wrap it in tissue paper and pack it in a gift box. Give it to her and love her tears. Come. Just going to carefully pack that back up. The privileged boredom of happiness is not for us. We're going out to look at sculpture all day at a private park closed for the past 15 years. Not only are we going, but we are taking with us the legacy of decades we cannot escape. It's a lot to hold, all the mistakes, hard to remember happiness, pale against the body of upset. lingering. We will always be on the edge of joy and misery. Time to go. Do we have everything? This poem returns to a gardening theme with some family mixed in. Jim prides himself on being part Irish, just like his father, whose parents were both from Italy, though in all fairness, his father did have smiling eyes and played a fine fiddle until his elbow took gunfire in '44. So, of course, when Jim's nephew asked him if he liked oats, he said yes, feeling his Irish roots. And when the nephew called to say he left the bag by the backyard gate, Jim was puzzled, but not as puzzled as when he walked out and found a 50-pound sack of whole oats from the feed store. You would need a grain mill, and Jim lives in the suburbs. No goats or cows. His wife said, "Put it out on the curb, someone will take it." When I came to visit, Jim showed me the oats. Just the thing I could use to plant a cover crop in my garden. So I took it off his hands. And say what you will about his nephew, he has a good heart. Mows their lawn and tends their flowers free of charge. So I have 3 more poems about identity, and then I thought I'd pick the raffle. In this first one, I want you to know that the tilt of the earth, which is 23.5 degrees, is called the inclination. And this poem is Inclination. My ego always faces one way, keeping a lookout. The other side is unexplored, touchy. Sometimes you remind me of it, which I do not appreciate. Stay on my good side, and we will go round and round. And these poems are really new, like just within the last week. The Subtle Sabotage. When I force myself to pay attention, because of ongoing failure and the faint hope of a better outcome, I am confronted by the twitching of my volition to press the issue, as if life and my near and dear ones could not be trusted and needed my intervention. I have to admit I have a hidden agenda, which until now has been obvious to all but me. And I wonder what will happen if I peel it off like a bandage and let in light and air. Thank you. So stay with me on this. Time is distancing itself from history. Time is trying to get away from itself, away from us. It keeps making new days, new nights, filled with opportunities which we infallibly occupy, so they can never be reused or recalled favorably without a haze of nostalgia. It is just as much time's fault as our own. It speeds ahead as if death were on its heels, just a second behind. Barely a moment to really think and consider consequences. Get underneath where time has been before it is buried under new constructions, like the lasagna of civilization. In the time this poem takes, time is already pulling you and me in its wake. The poem nearly forgotten, and off we go. Thanks again for coming tonight. I'll read 2 more short poems and then a brief interlude on the clarinet. And I'll be sticking around if anybody wants to chat or have me sign a book for them afterwards. I love the space that's created in an event like this, where it feels like we meet each other in a really special place. That's like almost like it's unpolluted. Ally. The amorphous machinery of buy and sell has a conveyor belt just for you, to be stamped, coded, packaged, sold, and bought so you barely recognize yourself. Which is why you might need a poet or another artist who finds it important to take you by the elbow to some quiet place where the two of you can unwrap the bindings, clean off the poison, and apply the antidote. Internal affairs. Your soul is wrestling with your mind for control of your life. Let it win. This is a short theme called Sun Singer. It's by alto saxophonist Paul Winter. It's inspired by the statue Sun Singer, which is Apollo, the god of poetry and music, greeting the sun.